Hey, welcome to CryptoCoach365, day 85, I think. It's really hard to keep track of these things so far, with so many of them. So, kind of a weekend, Saturday, so unfortunately I couldn't really do much because while there's no weekends for entrepreneurs, everybody else takes weekends off. So I needed to go to DMV I'm actually in the process of changing some addresses and other stuff. So went there, they were closed. There was a Social Security Administration requirement for that too, for whatever reason that was closed. So yesterday I basically ended up spending most of my time finishing up most of the work on this. Now the thing at the very top right there, that's the audio interface for that plane project. By the way, yeah, this whole thing right here. This is my dining room table, and that's all the avionics and aircraft components that are on it. So yesterday I actually managed to hook up the audio part of it. So now I can actually hear that the audio works, the radio works, this new high-tech, newest type of equipment out there that gives me warnings that I was able to test and hear for like pulling too many G's, or if there's other airplanes too close to me or traveling in my direction, or if there's terrain that might be an issue, or any kind of cautionary issues. So it's actually very nice because you might be paying attention to what's outside of your screen as you're flying, and this thing draws your attention back in by actually telling you like, hey, there's a message on a screen, or hey, look, there's traffic, or hey, look, there's terrain like a hill or something that might be coming too close. So yeah, keeps flying much safer. Besides that, not much else with crypto stuff. We did discuss that the new bank manager that I mentioned that we were planning on hiring, we were discussing her salary, myself and Adela, who was my partner in the bank idea. Unfortunately, her salary has been a little, what she requested was very high, but we're trying to figure out if what she requested was in US dollars, which would have been really, really high, or in Eastern Caribbean dollars, which would have been pretty reasonable. So once we figure that out, that's kind of, we'll hire her. Possibly what we'll do is, because the project that she will be doing is very important and will be profitable once it actually succeeds, what we'll probably offer is, like a lot of startups do, a low starting salary with some future options, basically equity option in the company. So if the company succeeds, then she will have a lot of money coming in later, kind of like back pay. Or we may even do like a direct deferred salary kind of a deal. And a lot of startups actually do this, because when you start up, all the capital you have pretty much need to go on operations, and you usually don't really have a lot of capital to begin with. So like a large major corporation, like, or even a bank, all of this I have to pay pretty much straight up from my own pocket, unless I get some other investors, which I'm still looking for. But I can't really afford to pay established corporate salaries out there because I just don't have the money. And the other issue is that I'm also, when you start up, you're kind of at the brink. So you have to start and kind of really control how much money you're spending, because what might happen is, and actually does happen a lot, is a startup can end up spending a lot of its money on things that they assume would be kind of the typical corporate business type stuff, like new office furniture, some perks for some of the directors and higher level managers and stuff like that. And before they know it, they run out of the capital that they raised before the business actually got off the floor and is able to sustain itself, and then the business fails. That's actually one of the big reasons that startup businesses fail all the time. And I've actually seen a lot of that happen in Bitcoin, Bitcoin cryptocurrency businesses as well. They've raised a lot of money. They get by people who don't actually have any experience with managing a lot of money. This amount of money that they raise could be like $2, $3, $5 million. May have been more money than I've ever seen in their life, and they're thinking, wow, that's a lot of money. So they end up thinking that it's more money than they actually will need to, can ever run out of. But what happens is when you run a business, just like when you run your own life, every little expense here and there really starts to add up. Like in your own life, you might get coffee, like a $3 coffee every morning. You might get an expense for like an entertainment or Netflix or a game that you buy once in a while, or you go to the movies, or you go to a restaurant that's only like $15 for the dinner once in a while. But then when you go through and add all that up for the months or even the year, you end up realizing that you've just spent hundreds of dollars, or for a year you could have spent tens of thousands of dollars and you never even realized where that money disappeared. And such a scenario is much more prevalent in business. You could be spending a little bit on a perk here, a little bit on accounting here, a little bit on legal there, a little bit on like new office chairs and new laptops for everybody. You might think it's a normal startup, but you have 10 employees, all of a sudden you just spend 10 grand or even more. So yeah, that's something that we have to be very aware of when we're doing startups. And if you see a startup that raised money and is kind of being a little extravagant, be very wary of that startup, because it's a sign of somebody who doesn't really know how to manage their money, and chances are a worst case scenario, they may even raise that money to kind of blow it on themselves and then just declare the business as dead while they keep all the perks. So anyway, that's it. Just if you do startups, well, anywhere in your life really, whether you're an independent entrepreneur or investor or just starting out, you're still working, please take stock of all your expenses. Just sit down, write down all the things that you spend money on, even if it's minor things, and compare that to your income, and you will probably find that there's a lot of places where you're blowing money that you really shouldn't be or can easily avoid to do it. And if you're doing that with business, that's even more so. Get into the habit of actually controlling your money, and then when you do switch to being an investor or starting a business, once a habit develops, hopefully it'll help you keep your business from being ruined as well. And this is actually one of the major tips that we used to provide and do for clients back when I worked as a personal financial analyst as well. Because a lot of times the reason that people feel like they're stuck, and even though they're making more money, they can't seem to get out of a rut, is because they are not realizing how much money they're blowing on stuff that they really shouldn't be blowing. And the reason that people do end up getting to the top from like poverty to middle class or even wealth success is pretty much because they manage money and learn how to manage money and expenses. So very important skill to learn, and that's very one of the important most important things that I manage in my own life as well. So there you go. Anyway, that's it for today, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.